So this being my first sports game review, I was unsure how to approach MLB22 The Show because I'm typically harsh towards sports games because of what they've become, which is these full price yearly roster updates with the added ability to spend thousands upon thousands in Mutt, Hut, Fut, Diamond Dynasty, and other microtransactions. You know the predatory money grabs that those modes are. The show definitely has one of these modes, but it pales in comparison to EA's predatory monetary tactics. So instead of focusing on the entire game and all of its modes, I'm going to be focusing on the details that I notice have been improved from last year's game. The graphics, gameplay, sound, the things that you'll notice while actually playing the game. Sports games can only improve so much every year. I understand that. That's why full price yearly sports titles piss me off. But with this baseball game, some of that sting isn't attached because it's included in Gamepass, which is amazing because not only is it a title that a lot of ex-gamers wanted for years and years, but since last year, it's not only been made available on Xbox, but added to Game Pass. So with that being said, let's dive into the first true next-generation MLB game. My name's Eli with Rage Review. Let's get to it. Although on paper, there were no huge upgrades in the graphics department of the game, I played MLB21 and 22 side by side on the Xbox Series X, and there is most definitely an upgrade this year. Reflections are something I notice have been improved upon hugely this year. You can clearly see reflections of the field in the press box windows and in the players' helmets. It's truly incredible and it adds more immersion. I compared this with last year's MLB 21, and they do have helmet reflections, but it's not as clear and nearly as crisp. Also, anti-aliasing is much improved over last year's game as well. Here's a quick comparison. This is a totally underrated improvement as it adds clarity and believability to the game, and also adds to the shadow sharpness and quality, which is also improved this year. Shadows are smoother and just look better this time around. All of these small improvements lead to a sharper image across the board. It's incredible to me how good the crowd looks and all of the parks look this year. That leads me to performance. Running this game at 4K 60 frames per second on the Xbox Series X, you can tell it isn't perfectly optimized for the system. Stuttering and drops in frame rates are quite frequent and happens in certain situations more than others. Like when you're panning your camera when you're running the bags, this seems to drop the frame rate like crazy almost every time. It's something you can live with, but it's definitely noticeable at times. Animations is an important improvement this year. The actual movement animations seem to have been smoothed out in a lot of important areas, like walking up to the bat looks incredibly lifelike and pretty unreal. Facial animations also seem to have taken a step. You can see players' facial expressions more clearly when they strike out or wince when they smash a homer. It might not be a huge deal, but to some, it only improves immersion. Now, speaking of immersion, the ever-changing atmosphere and mood for games is truly incredible in MLB22 The Show. They've done an incredible job recreating the thick, humid atmosphere seen in some night games when the bright lights bring a haze to the field. Rain and thunderstorms also look incredible this year. Adding to the visual improvements is also improved audio in most apartments. So let's get into it. Of all of the improvements this year that add to the immersion, the audio improvements are by far the best. This year's game added new commentary, which is good to see and brings some new life to the game.
Ready for the bottom of the eighth. Here's Max Muncy, that funky Muncy, and a pitch.
But the biggest audio change has been the improvement to crowd chatter and the dugout shit-talking or encouragement. This stuff has been in past games, but they really seem to take it more seriously this year. They also did a very good job separating the audio into left and right channels as well. You can clearly tell someone from the opposing dugout is yelling strike when the ball's about to cross the plate, and you hear it in the left or right ear only.
And first offering.
Matchup where you expect.
It's highly immersive and it adds to the overall experience. The fan chatter is much of the same. If you're on first base, you can hear opposing fans in your left headphone speaker trash talking at times. It's absolutely awesome. This year's game didn't really add much as far as gameplay goes, and I guess that's not really a bad thing. MLB seems to me anyways to have one of the most solid sports simulation experiences, so I do know, however, that they added more in-game animations, which is nice, but it's not something that will pop out at you for the most part. Also, the PCI circle gets smaller if you swing at balls at the edge of the strike zone, making it harder to get good hits off of bad balls. I also want to give big props to the San Diego studio for not using insane predatory tactics on its fan base to make hundreds of millions off of microtransactions. It's definitely the most consumer-friendly ultimate team mode in all of sports games. They give you great players and cards constantly, and even though I don't play Diamond Dynasty, I can tell you they aren't even close to the stinginess of an EA Sports title. I said I wasn't going to talk about game modes, so here's a really quick rundown. A new game mode was added called March to October. You can probably figure out what that's about. Online co-op was also added, and everything else was pretty much unchanged across all modes. Although I like MLB22, 23 needs to take a leap in the story of the road to the show. It's getting stale after 2 years on Gamepass, and it's just the same thing over and over now. So I think the reason why I like this year's The Show so much is because of all the little details that were added. When it all comes together, it makes for a truly immersive experience. We play games like The Show to smash dingers and to be immersed in the MLB experience, and it definitely accomplishes that. Although I have to be honest, if I had to pay full price for MLB22, I wouldn't. There's not enough new here to warrant buying it. But being someone who pretty much covers everything Xbox and Game Pass, I'm excited for the future of MLB The Show, and I hope it continues to be on Game Pass, and I hope it continues to make improvements every single year, because there's really still a lot to be improved, and the performance is mediocre at best. They need some quick performance updates soon to smooth out the frame rates. That being said, I love this game. I think the immersion is ridiculously good. They aren't trying to bend you over in Diamond Dynasty, and I can absolutely respect that. That's it for the review, guys. Please like and subscribe to Rage Review for more weekly-ish Game Pass reviews. My name is Eli. Take care, guys.